Skyler Saunders seeing money and medicine. What's current? Now, I have to get into a few things. I have to get into the fact that I make $54,000 plus tax free from the government. Now, it doesn't seem like much, and it really isn't, but it is because of my service in the Marine Corps. It is because I was truthful and honest about my disability, which is bipolar 1, and I am reaping the benefits, taking the compensation that was afforded to me by the United States government. At the same time, this is something that Ayn Rand has said in her writings, such as, and her writings including a question of scholarships, where she details how if you obtain money from the government, if you obtain it through scholarships, through disabilities and things of that nature, it's fine as it is right now. If you've earned it, if you deserve it, then you should be able to take it. But she was against the socialized medicine ideal. What we have now is not socialized medicine, contrary to what most people would argue. We have a fascist system, which means basically that there's private companies are able to function on their own, but they're heavily regulated by the different government entities that are included. So, when you consider medicine and money, you have to consider the fact that there are millions of people who are taking money from the government that they earned, like myself, and they are using it for their own well-being. And it's especially great for me because I live in a tax-free consumption state. There shouldn't be tax-free consumption, but as it stands, I enjoy it. Because the opposite should be true. It should be no taxes on income, city, state, or federal. The money, though, just like all these rappers, they talk about their chains and their cars and their houses and all this. They should be flaunting how they can get money for their injuries and illnesses, and whenever they need to see a doctor for a checkup. But these kids aren't thinking about that. They're in their teens and early 20s. Their mind state is not even close to it unless something happens, unless they get shot. And I don't think the record label is going to pay for it. They got to use their money that they earn through streams and all kinds of sales and their merch. It takes a lot of effort to say that there is a conscious rebellion against socialized medicine, fascist medicine, any collectivized medicine, anything that's not individualistic or capitalistic. That's the kind of medicine that we need. A capitalist system where it's like where most people will understand, or all people should understand, the difference between being for the collective and being for the self, being selfish, which is a virtue. People don't understand that. They can't wrap their heads around it. They have to, have to continue to go on the path of saying, "Oh well, just like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. People say for Social Security, well, if I didn't save up, I wouldn't be able to have this right now. So that's why I have to get my Social Security." That's not what it's about. You should be able to have enough money. If the government didn't tax and if it didn't have regulations and controls that prohibited and inhibited people from taking on the task of being independent individuals, then there would be no problems. But as it stands right now, we're in the position to say that money and medicine, don't go hand in hand, and they should. because it takes a vast amounts of knowledge and skill for these doctors, nurses, for the medical staff, for the administrators, everyone involved in healthcare. It takes all that, all of them, to understand how much it means to be independent and individualistic. People know that, and they'll claim, they'll say straight out, Medicare, Medicaid, they're not to help the poor and the lame and people that can't afford it. It's really about my own medicine, my own Medicare. They're not looking for too much altruism, but it is an altruistic state when you have medicine, you have healthcare being burdened by so many different travails that you don't even understand what's going on. You don't even know how much you owe, how much, what doctors should be paid, what nurses should be paid, what administrators should be paid. It becomes a farce, a sad farce. It's a crying shame because you want to be the leader. And in the Western Hemisphere, we have nations like Canada that are almost completely socialized. But when something happens, they have to go to a Canadian hospital, and there's people in the hallway and on gurneys and in beds, and there's people sick and coughing, and it's just a big mess because the medicine has been socialized. We need to ego medicine. We need to edge government out of medicine. That's the primary thing we should do. Of all the people that have challenged and tried to make sure that we secure the freedoms that we enjoy, we're United States is the bastion for healthcare. When leaders across the world get sick, they come to America to get well again, or at least try to get well. And there's a great movie called The Barbarian Invasions, and it's French Canadian, and it shows just what one family goes through, family and friends, when one of them falls ill due to cancer, and it's illuminating. It's fiction, but it's illuminating because it's based on fact. Like I said before, there's hospital beds in the hallways. There's people coughing. There's people going back and forth. There's no privacy in the rooms. They're all bunched together. And what do? They come to the United States. They cross the border to the US of A. That's where we are. That's what we must fight for. We must fight for the idea that we're supposed to be free. Not just the, bromide, hollow platitude, freedom, free, It's not just that. It's absolute, complete control over individual lives by the individual, not by the state. That's freedom. And that's what we don't have. We have mixture of it. Like I said, it's more fascist. Because socialism and communism are basically the same thing. Socialism is just by vote. Communism is just by force. They take over the government, and the government is set up to be completely communistic. And don't get it confused, because China's not a communist country, even though it's in the title. The People's Country of China, and they have various titles of the Communist Country of China, or China is a communist country. It's not. It really isn't. It's a mixture. It's a authoritarian country, but it's really not communistic. But like I said, with fascism, the government allows private companies, private healthcare providers to do their own thing, basically. But they have so many controls and so many regulations that it throttles their ideals, and it throttles their ability to practice medicine completely. And as I've said before in recent posts and past, videos, that the FDA is probably the most evil organization in the country because it denies thousands, if not millions, but at least thousands of different medicines, procedures, surgeries that could be life saving, that could be completely revolutionary to the medical field, but stop it. They just stop them in the tracks because of some bureaucrat that didn't feel right that day, who needed health care, ironically. So, when you take into account the fact that so many people are enamored with the fact of the idea of socialism, they are enamored with the fact or the idea of fascism, that want to be communists, when it comes to medicine, you have to consider the money. You have to consider, that doctors, it seems like we want to say they get paid a lot. You want to say that. And you want to say nurses get paid well too. And you want to say administrators definitely get paid a lot. But by comparison, they're pretty much broke. There's not a lot of money in medicine. There really isn't. They're decent. That's why you have doctors looking for, moonlighting jobs, and you have them, investing in different portfolios and different things like that because, they make maybe $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Administrators maybe 200,000, 250,000, maybe $300,000 a year. Nurses anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000 a year, probably, depending on what state, depending on what hospital, depending on how many degrees they've earned, what certifications they've acquired and earned. So, if you look at the grand scheme of things, you look at the picture as it should be, as a full, complete frame, you'll see that money and medicine really are not at odds. They should be together. When you have things like, Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, which definitely is a travesty and a definite heartbreaking and horrific sign and, goalpost and roadway that we're on right now, it shows that people want to be unfree. People want to be shackled by their healthcare providers. They don't want to be liberated from the manacles and the fetters that hold them back. They want to be strapped down and put into a position where they're not free anymore. Because that's what the Affordable Care Act is. That's what Obamacare is. It's saying that medical providers can only do such and such, so many different procedures, so many different surgeries, and they don't have a choice in the matter to make sure. They have to do it. It's by law. It's in legislation. It's a travesty. It's inept and completely un-American, just like President Obama was un-American. He did say the Elizabeth Warren line, "You did not build that." That's a clear-cut slap in the face to any business person, any businessman or woman, any entrepreneur who has ever put foot to pavement, whoever had to put up flyers, whoever had to send out emails, whoever had to go out and get a license, and so many other things that independent business people do. He just said, "You didn't build that." And that's what is being said about doctors. You didn't treat that. You didn't provide the surgery for that. You didn't give the medicine for that. You didn't take care of your parents, your patients. You didn't do any of that. All of that was provided by what? Some collection of individuals that had nothing to do with you before you were even born, and you didn't even know them or anything like that. Those are the people that built it. They were the ones that treated and cared for and provided the services. And that's another thing too. Providing service. Service to whom and for what? And how? Are you providing a service for your own benefit or for someone else? Or is it a mutual trade of value for value, as it should be under capitalist terms? Where are you now? Where have you been? What what is it that qualifies you to say that these doctors, nurses, administrators, all the medical care providers should be shackled, fettered, and you know chained to the dictates of a bureaucrat or even a president? It's a shame. It's a sad shame because there are so many people that are sick and tired and literally sick and tired. They don't have the wherewithal to get the care they need, to get the medicines and the different pharmaceuticals that are required of them, are required for them. This is the main idea. This is part one and two. There's one, education, and two, healthcare, that definitely need ego, edging government out. When we edge government out of healthcare, that takes care of every single human being in the United States and elsewhere. But I'm mostly concerned with the United States because it's my home. This is the greatest and most noblest and the greatest and noblest country ever devised in the history of mankind. And it should not have these hangups. We continue to be tarnished. We continue to be the house on the hill that's, on quicksand, as Dr. Yaron Brook has said before. A beautiful mansion, wonderful, bountiful, plentiful, great place to be, except for so many different controls and regulations over businesses that should be completely free, that should be liberated. That's where we should draw our line. That's where we should have it. If only rappers would say that, put it in a song. Healthcare is the best care, or something. Just have it popularized. Have it sent out and put on different songs and, TikToks and Instagram posts. Because that's the thing. We don't worry about healthcare until we need it. That's a fact. We have no concern over our well-being until we're not well anymore. Or for the most part. And that's with everything. That's I remember 2 Chains, if I'm not mistaken, he broke his leg and posted it on, his bill on social media. He has he has health insurance. So the bill was like $25,000 or something like that. And it covered like 60 to 80% of it. He only paid like $5,000. I was like, wow. And you can correct my math because I'm terrible at math, but but the point is, he had health care and he had enough insurance to make sure that he could, get his leg fixed again, like make sure his wound was addressed. And that should be on the lips of so many other rappers and, people that are in the business. And this should be in more movies. It should be in more TV shows. The fact that we're supposed to be, in lockstep with the government instead of appearing as someone that is concerned with their own well-being, being selfish. That's the quote unquote dirty term that nobody wants to come to terms with. Being selfish completely without any regard for your own for violations. You don't regard violations. You regard, the safety and well-being of yourself, and you don't violate the rights of anyone else. That's what selfishness is. And you flourish and you thrive. That's selfish. So money and medicine, ought to be friends, you know? There should be no quote unquote free healthcare, because no such thing as free healthcare exists. Somebody's got to pay for that scalpel. Somebody's got to pay for that surgery table. Everything in a hospital has to be paid for, from the Thorazine to the magazines. Everything, every bit of it's got to be in somebody's pocket somehow, some way. So you can't tell me that there is no such thing as a capitalist society that has healthcare, because it's possible. We don't live in it yet. We're almost there. A lot of people say that this is a capitalist country. It is a capitalist country. It's not. No country in this entire world is capitalist fully. We've tried it. We've had experiments with it. We've come close. The closest is probably the United States. We're the most non-capitalist capitalist country in the world. Put that on a bumper sticker. We're the ones saying that we belong here and that we're strong here. Forgive me for rhyming. No, but medicine and money is what it's about. All this stuff, from waiting rooms to the emergency room, all has to be paid for by someone. And like I said, I get paid through disability, and this is no surprise. This isn't. You can look this up on the internet. I get paid 100% disability, and on top of that, I get Social Security, and that's all tax free. Don't be too envious, please don't. I live a wonderful life, a great life. I live with my parents. I don't even pay property taxes. It's a great life. I can't complain. I won't complain. My mind has been too good to me. My life is too good to me. And I want to cherish it and make sure it flourishes and does well. And because of the current status that we have, I will accept it because of the question of scholarships. I will accept it because there is a standard where you're able to say legitimately, because if you have a legitimate case like I do, you can go to a VA hospital. I know, VA. If you didn't catch that, you can go to the VA, and if you're within 30 days or more on a hospital stay, you can get paid at 100% level. And this is when I was at 70%, but I was paid at 100%. And I was in the hospital for 5 months, a mental hospital to provide care for my bipolar disorder, because you can't cure it. It's there with you. It's going to stick with you forever. It's going to be with me forever till I die. But they treated me, and I went on trips. I want to get that out of the way. Let's talk about that. I went to a whole talent show. I went to all kinds of VFW for dinner. There was pizza night. There was all kinds of stuff. It was just having a good time for 5 months. I was having my time of my life. I was saying, there's no losing. This is what Ayn Rand said too. It's a benevolent universe. It doesn't you know say that you will be happy forever. And like Dr. Leonard Peikoff said, it's not one great orgasm life is. It's not. That's what Dr. Peikoff said. It doesn't guarantee you happiness, the universe. You make your own happiness, you make your own life. And even people within, different cases like, mental hospitals for the VA, I was able to achieve $23,000 tax free because of that. Put that into a truck, ran it off the road, crashed it, took the insurance money, put it into my credit card, got 770, 775 credit score. Things are beautiful. Everything that's supposed to be bad turns out to be good. That's a reversal of a Yay song. Why is everything supposed to be bad make me feel so good? Everything that was supposed to be bad has become good for me. That's the status I live with to this day. The fact that I can control my own destiny, that I have complete control over my own life. And say, I have earned the Social Security and the medical benefits from the VA, from the Veterans Administration or Veterans Affairs. They always confuse me with what the A stands for. It's either Veterans Affairs or Veterans Administration. They keep going back and forth. Please, somebody in the chat and in the comments, please let me know what the exact affairs and administration is, which A and VA and VA is. But it's been beautiful. Of course, there's limitations when you're in the hospital. You can't go out and about where you want to be at a certain time. When you can't eat at a certain time, but when they tell you. And I took all that. I was like, okay, great. I got my fighting Irish lawyer from Boston, Michael Kelly, and he said, he didn't say it directly to me, but he sent out one of his I don't want to call it an underling, but one of his associates, and he sat me down. We looked at papers, and I was like, okay, I'm on board for this. And he even asked me, you want to get Social Security papers? I got some in the trunk. I was like, yes, I do. And then he went out, got the papers from the trunk. I signed on the 100% papers. I signed on the 100% the disability papers for Social Security. I believe I'm SSDI. Don't ask me what SSDI stands for right now. I think Social Security Disability Insurance, but I'm not 100% sure. So get at me again at the comments. But that's my story. That's where I am. Medicine and money. All of this is money. Everything is money. Everything. I learned that when I was 7 years old. I was peering out the window of a car, about to hit the highway, and I was just thinking, like, wow, everything is tied to money. Everything. You can't name one thing in the universe of Earth and everything else that doesn't have any ties to money. It's impossible. I don't care what it is. It's somebody's money somewhere, even if it's provided quote unquote free, even if it's provided without any strings. Somebody somewhere is benefiting from or reaping the benefits from that load of money. And that's money in medicine. That's the key to what all providers of medical care should consider whenever they go into an ER, whenever they go into the morgue, everywhere. I mean, it's from life to death, you know? And just imagine how much it costs for a funeral. And what is that about? You know? $10,000 casket? Really? And they go up higher. $50,000, $100,000 caskets going in the ground. And funeral services and funeral rites, all the people that are involved, the singers, the obituary, the reverend, and speaking over the body for the mystics. If you're not a mystic, you might have a different kind of funeral. You may just have, poems read or songs said, sung. It could be a totally different situation for you. But money and medicine should go completely hand in hand. A total meeting of the capitalist ideals with the human ideals, with the individual ideals, which should not be contrary, which should not conflict, which should not conflict. The individual and capitalism should be in harmony, together with reason. They should all work as allies together against the axis of mysticism, collectivism, and altruism. And we still have people every day that choose to say, hey, yeah, that sounds good. Helping out poor people, helping out old people. Or the people that don't even say that. They know, they just say, hey, it's for me. This is selfish. They want to, equivocate and say something is not. It's selfish if you've earned it. It's selfish if you deserve it. That's justice. And capitalism is the only social system of justice. The only one. No other systems can claim the fact that they don't need capitalism. Even a little bit. Even a minute, drop of capitalism. No other social system can say that. Not one. And that's why it's desperately needed that people find, discover, apply, and integrate proper philosophies such as objectivism and objective hate. And I'll come at you in about 5 years with my own philosophy. I've scattered it here and there on the internet. So if you can find it, good for you. Money in medicine. It's the makings of taking everything that we know and flipping it on its head and then writing it up again. That's the key. That's what we should be focused on. That's what we should be able to be talking about right now. All these cars and flashing and jewelry and all this, that's fine. That's cute. But what about when your arm is broken, or if you get cancer, or if you get shot? How many people get shot in hip hop? Most of them don't have to worry about because they get shot and killed. But what about the ones that lose a leg, or lose an arm, or an eye, or lose their hearing? What about them? What does happen to them? Oh, they have to go to the doctor. The doctor has to have no consideration over whether they should, administer medical care for them. Is that proper? Is that right? Is that just? Is that a good thing? Should that continue to be on the minds of all the medical providers of this great nation? What is it about the fact that so many of us, and myself included, this is us, Americans, we still have not grasped the fullness thereof concerning capitalism. We still have not fully discovered what it means to be a true capitalist. Not just exchanging money, even though that's a facet. Not just trading value by value, that's a facet. But ego, edging government out on that principle. The government should still have a role, and it should only be as a policeman to protect individual rights and property. That's it. That's the only role government should have. Should have nothing else to do with anything else. It should have the baton instead of the stethoscope. It should have a baton instead of the balance sheet. That's where we are. We have a government that wants to carry the stethoscope and the balance sheet and the scalpel. I mean, that's one. They're all, I guess, can be weapons, but that could be one. But just hear me out on this metaphor. That the government wants to be so involved with medicine that it doesn't give a chance to anyone else to be clear of the way that it is spoken of. The way it's spoken of is healthcare as a duty. It is supposed to be there. It's supposed to help people. Well, who are the people that are helping? Your nurse, your doctor, your medical administrator, the executive director. And everybody has to get paid, and they know that. I want the medical directors to go on strike. Why can't they shrug? What's stopping them? What's stopping the leaders, the presidents, the executive directors of medical facilities to say, you know what? Nope, not doing this. Not today. Not today. Not doing it. I'm not about that life. I'm not about doing that. I refuse to be a slave. That's what they should say. Doctors, nurses, everybody on down. The janitors, everybody. I refuse to be a slave. I refuse to say that I put my work, my life's work, my schooling, my 10 to 12 years of hard and smart work, toiling and trying to figure out and studying and going through different exams and courses, just to be told that I'm supposed to help this person that could be my enemy? Is that just? Is that proper? Is that right? That's what I'm asking. Medicine and money. Money and medicine. What is it that stops anyone from doing anything if they're supposed to work and not get paid? You have all these different conflicts and crises and wars. You got Doctors Without Borders, probably one of the most altruistic organizations in the world. And I don't mean that as a compliment. They should have borders. They should care for only people that are worth it, who deserve it. Have certain people that take it upon themselves to not understand what is truly the facts, what are truly the realities of everything. It takes on to a point where there's little to go by. They want to say that there's a line that has to be crossed. There's a line that makes up the entire framework of what we are. That's the distinction. That's what is the separate sign that has to be put up. We have to be concise, we have to be clear, and we have to be, I guess, draw attention to ourselves rationally. We have to, continue to share these videos if you may, if you must. We have to get on the front lines of the internet. We don't have to exactly picket. We don't exactly have to take to the streets. We don't have to hold up banners and flags. We can just use our minds. We can use thought. We can use these cameras, these recorders, these microphones as something that is beneficial to our own selves. Money and medicine. Medicine and money. If you had a choice to say, let me have this doctor that is going to get paid, that is happy, that wants to treat me, and that is going to, because it is a trade, I'm going to pay him or her. Or the disgruntled free doctor that regrets having earned his or her doctorate because the whole thing didn't make a bit of difference because they're not getting paid either as much or at all. That's disgusting. That's a disturbance. If you choose the latter, the former will give you your care, will provide for you, will make sure you are the best because of the money. But it's not just because of the money, it's because of the fact work. So it's a dual thing. It's the money and the enjoyment and fulfillment of completing their tasks that they studied for years. And you have on the latter hand, you have the doctor that's, just going to do a whatever ramshackle job just to get enough, to get out of the way and keep you moving. But it was free. Didn't cost a thing. I didn't have to pay for it. Government is completely in the pockets of medicine. There's no doubt about it. And we are in a fascist system. Not socialized, not completely socialized. There's elements of socialism, yes. It's a fact, but mostly it's fascist. And I'm not Antifa. I'm not anti-fascist. I'm pro-capitalism. I'm pro-reason. I'm pro-individualism. That's where I am right now. That's where I am, and I have been for going on 16 years. Ever since I truly dropped what I had in the past, and I took on the role of a man, and I said, I'm done with these foolish, or not foolish, but these childish games, these childish ideals, and I'm going to step into manhood with Ayn Rand's ideas and Troy Star Terrain's ideas. And later on, I would discover Dr. Leonard Peikoff, and I would also discover Dr. Yaron Brook, and amongst a whole host of other objectivists and idealists and thinkers. Money in medicine. That's it. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. You have to have money and medicine. Money in medicine. Because you think about anything else, go to your coffee shop. Yeah, I'll take the latte, the cappuccino, and the macchiato free. I don't have to pay for it. Sounds ridiculous, right? That sounds ridiculous, but Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Well, whatever. I paid into it. And that's the terrible backwards part. It keeps going back and forth. It goes back to the fact that the government has been taking money out of the your own paycheck. And when you go for April 15th or whenever it falls on, whenever it falls on a weekend, it's the next day, it's the 16th or the 17th. And they just rip you. They rip you a new one. They take on all your money. That's what happens. The government, federal, state, and city, for the most part, that's another thing too. Let's discuss that for a moment. Should be a federal, state, and city, no taxes, completely. No question, no argument, nothing. There should only be what is concerns consumptive taxes. And I know that sounds ironic coming from me from Delaware, coming from a state that's tax-free shopping. That sounds cool. That sounds, oh, that's hot. I can get this brand new shirt for no tax. But that should be the only tax. Ironically, that should be the only tax available. That should be it. There's no other way around the fact that the taxes should be eliminated, except for consumptive taxes on consumption, because you're destroying. When you buy something, you're destroying. That's what it means to consume. They love to say consumers. Oh, consumers, consumer report, consumer. Oh, we're looking out for the consumer. You're looking out for the eater. You're looking out for the biter, the devourer person. That's what you're looking out for. You don't care anything else about it. You don't care one iota. You rather have the people who say that they want to dictate your life, and we let them. This country is over 320 million people. 30 million, maybe. Something like that. 330 million. We're like top 3. Most populous. And the most diverse. The most cultures come here. We are the true melting pot. We are the true sense of take anybody and everybody and let's join in on this party. That is what is going on. That is what has been going on since 1776. And you can argue, of course, our original sin, slavery, which must not be overlooked, which must not be forgotten about, which must not be swept under the rug. But we have to understand also that not all the founding fathers were slave owners or slave drivers or anything. Not all of them were. And there were many abolitionists along the way, both black and white and all the other colors. Brown, red. They don't like to teach that in history books. They like to give us Dr. King and his I Have a Dream speech. That's about it. Well, I have a dream. Medicine and money put together and held tightly. Because I'm a beneficiary. I admit it. I go by, the question of scholarships. That's all I have banking on what money I get from the government. This is my job. This is what I like to do. But this is not paying my bills yet. I'm having fun doing this. It's not much in the way of dollars. Not much a way of saying, "Hey, I'm all right now. I'm good. I don't need the disability pay anymore." No, those they pay my bills, but it's only because it exists right now as it is. And just think about the fact that what if there were no taxes except for consumption? How many more thousands, if not millions of dollars would we have? Given there were no payroll taxes, federal and state and city taxes, you would just have to sign up for something and write a contract, and government protects the contract, and that'd be a tax or a payment for governmental services. That'd be it. There'll be no more. If you just took on the role of a person who knew what they were doing and knew how to do it, like a doctor who has spent years in college and in university studying and finding out ways to make it better. Because that's another thing too. They could have a whole class of doctors, you know, a whole class, who somebody can be at the top of the class. But what do you call the person in the last place in a medical field, in a medical class? Did you say doctor? Yeah, because the last person who graduated from class is still a doctor, and they're going to want to get paid, despite the fact that they were in their last place in their class. They're going to still hold the title, even though they may not have performed as well in school. Money in medicine. And if you look at the whole breadth, the whole wide range of different professions, from plumbers to dentists to anyone in between, ballerinas, I don't care. Are they doing it for free? Why aren't they doing it for free? How come a plumber isn't say, "Look, I just fixed your sink. It's running water now. It's not backed up. Your toilet's not clogged anymore. Your shower's working. The hot water will come out now." All that, just a gratuity. It's just that's all free. I don't have to get paid. No thanks. A ballerina studies ever since she was 3 years old. Now she's 33 years old. Part of a company. She's one of the lead dancers in her company. She struggled and almost broke her foot, almost broke her ankle. All that for free. Why isn't that the case? The symphony, the first chair, cellist, gets paid $0 for the beautiful music that she makes. Why don't we ever consider that? Why don't we ever? But for what the doctor? Yeah, they're fine. That's all right. I can get my medicine anyway and anyhow. That's all right. Let the doctor get it for free. Let them do their work for free. They're the only ones. They're the only ones that say that that's okay. They're the only ones that say that it is up to the people to say how much they earn. It's the only ones. That's it. We expect our doctors and nurses to provide for our care based on our own feelings. Really, it's really about emotions. It's not anything about thinking. It's not about thinking. It's not anything about but emotions. That's it. It's about showing that you're emoting and you're not following the path of true righteousness, which is capitalism. Everyone in the economy should be paid for their efforts. whether it's $2 an hour or $200 an hour or $2,000 an hour or $20,000 an hour. We have so many CEOs, CEOs of, companies that are trained on Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, healthcare providers. The CEOs of these companies, they don't walk out. They don't hold the strike signs. They don't do any of that. They have the power to, but do they have the will? Do they have the ambition? Do they have the moral ambition or ambitiousness, the selfishness to take care of their own lives? That's what I'm driving at. That's the point in which I'm trying to figure it out. Money and medicine. If there is one thing to take away from all of this, it is that the man and woman who provide the care are not slaves. They deserve their pay. They deserve the fact that they are providing a service not for you, but for them. And that sounds weird, but it's the truth. They're not servants for you. They're not slaves for you. They're serving their own minds. And just like the strike with the writers, they're so up in arms and concerned about their own pay, about their own rights, about their own way of looking at life. They're not considering anybody else. What about the gaffers and the dolly grips and everybody else? Studio execs. They're not saying anything about them. They're saying about their own. And that's close to irrational self-interest. But let's just call it irrational, not self-interest. Don't sully self-interest with that kind of behavior. It's just irrational. And that goes to anyone. I mean, when nurses strike, anytime. I mean, they have the right. They can do it. But it doesn't mean they should. They wouldn't need to strike if healthcare were capitalistic. They wouldn't need to strike if it was a fully free society, which we do not have. A lot of people say, oh, well, this is a free country. This is a free country. No, it's not. It's a semi-free country. We have a lot of liberty and different feelings of different ideals towards freedom, but we have too many regulations and controls that throttle those ideals. Medicine and money. Money and medicine. That's our whole focus on how we should conduct ourselves. Because it's like education. That's another thing. Teachers go on strike. How come principals don't go on strike? They may feel, affinity to the teachers. They may support them, but they're not out there on the lines in front of schools and around, the town picketing. They'd rather that be, saved for the teachers. And that's 1 and 2. Education and healthcare, where ego should only be concerned with protecting individual rights. Otherwise, edging government out is a necessity. Now, I'd like to thank everyone for watching this broadcast. Make sure you share it. Make sure you let other people know about it. Subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. Let everyone know that this show is on the internet and ready and willing to take on any topic whatsoever. I thank you all for being with me, and take care.